The Milwaukee PBS Next Avenue Community Conversation Series is made possible through generous funding provided by the Helen Daniels Bader Fund, a Bader philanthropy.
I'm John McGivern, and this is Next Avenue Community Conversations. We are in Sparta, Wisconsin tonight, and our topic of conversation is volunteering. Do you volunteer? What do you volunteer for? Why do you volunteer? When this topic was chosen, I look back and I realized that the word volunteer has been part of my vocabulary my entire life. I am the third born of 6 kids on the east side of Milwaukee, raised by an Irish Catholic couple, and my Irish Catholic parents volunteered my entire childhood. My mom was part of the Altar Society, which meant that there was one Saturday in the month that she spent all day cleaning the church and cleaning the sacristy and making sure that the altar was taken care of. My father was in charge of the annual paper drive, which meant that he convinced all of our neighbors to save every newspaper for the entire year. And those were the days when there were 2 newspapers, and my neighbors saved them all, so that one time, for the paper drive, he would make his kids volunteer, which I call voluntold, to go to their basements to collect that year's worth of newspaper. We would put them in the back of our Rambler station wagon and drive them to in front of St. Peter and Paul's School, where there was a big semi-truck where we would load all of our newspapers. We were volunteering as a kid. And I look back and I realized that that was our training for volunteering. And now as an adult, I volunteer. When we picked this topic, I dug around and looked on what Wisconsin offers in volunteering, and it's remarkable that we are in the top 3 of all of the states for people who volunteer. 30% of our population of Wisconsin volunteers. And what does that translate to? It translates to 1.6 million volunteer hours, which has the value of $3.4 billion. We do some volunteering in Wisconsin. And they do some volunteering here in Sparta. We have some guests who want to tell their stories. So before I bring on my first guest, take a look at this. I am on a construction site with 4 of the 5 shovelmen, which means that I'm the 5th shovelman today.
Honorary shovelman.
Talk about what you guys do and what you've built here in Sparta. Did you build the bandstand? Don't tell me you built it.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, he did.
Well, it started with the Beaver Creek Bridge, which is downtown Sparta, and it just kind of caught. The next one followed with the Point Bridge, and the one behind me is the 4th one, the Mary Morrow Bridge. It's probably our proudest achievement because everything is from hand. And the whole thing is held together by these wood pegs.
So does the city hire you as a company to do this?
No, this is all volunteer.
It's all volunteer.
Yeah, it's all volunteer. The most unique part of this group, though, is there aren't any rules and that the city trusts us, and that's huge. We even built a bridge as a sign to the city. I don't know if you saw that from Highway 16.
This isn't a bridge today. What are you guys working on now?
We're working on a bathroom that's much needed here in this park. Since 2005, we've had this band shell, and it attracts quite a few people on Wednesdays.
What a gift to the city to have you guys saying, we want to do this, and that the time spent is time that you give to the city.
Yeah, but it's also an expression of our creativity.
We're building something that's going to last us beyond our lifetimes,
right.
And that's something for the future.
Yeah.
And that's what's really cool about it.
I am excited to be back in Sparta talking to Reinhard Mueller. How are you, sir?
I'm very good. Thank you.
Good to see you.
Nice to
You're
see
the
you too.
Vice President of Business Development for Gana-A'Yoo Limited, and they just saw your story when we came to visit you for Around the Corner. Thank you so much for taking the time tonight.
Thank you for having me.
Let's first talk about what happened to the bathroom.
Well, the bathroom got dedicated today.
It got dedicated today. So I came up a little early for the dedication. And can we talk about what that bathroom is named?
Around the corner rest stop.
My mother is so proud, just so you know. It's an around-the-corner rest stop here in downtown Sparta at the park.
Correct.
People should come at least to visit that, right?
Well, I think so. That's why we gave it a name.
Yeah. Let's talk about the Five Shovelmen. How did it start?
Well, 5 Shovelmen started as actually 4 Shovelmen.
We did.
And then there's actually a plaque on the bridge that says 4 Shovelmen plus 1, just to show history, the progression. But it started on our second bridge. The Ben Biken Bridge, which is the open trestle bridge in Ben Biken Park, which is the information area with the giant bicyclist or penny farthing bicyclist. And we were working as a group, and 2 of the guys were talking amongst each other about, well, does this have to be that way or does this have to be this way? And one went to the other and says, well, heck, I don't know. I'm just a darn shovelman.
There we go.
And it just stuck because, you know, as a group, we have a synergy that ultimately does the whole thing from selling the idea to the design, to its construction, and ultimately to the dedication. So, you know, for a group of average guys, we've really have an extraordinary result in our opinion.
You sure do. And what a gift to this community that the 5 of you have given.
Yeah, it turns out to be that way. I don't know that, you know, we sit around thinking about what we can gift the city,
right.
But there are needs, there are wants. People facilitate those ideas in our heads, and the joy of building something and working together is what we get to do.
Well, I think it's important for you to realize that that your name is talked about a lot in this community as far as motivating other people to volunteer as well in whatever they do to volunteer.
It's not like I started this because, there's an opportunity to volunteer.
Sure.
It was a selfish interest to see a dream come true.
Yeah.
And all I had to do was help. Well, heck, that's easy enough.
Right. We're glad that you took a moment to sit with us tonight, and we're so happy because it was because of you that we picked this community and this topic of volunteerism. So thanks so much for taking your time.
Well, I really appreciate it.
Thanks. So it's great to see how Reinhardt started volunteering and what that came to today. He was doing things that he had done, you know, early in his life. There's other type of volunteering where you take on a role that you've never done. So let's take a look at this.
We're the only historic site in Wisconsin that has its own library and research center.
Staff of how many here?
Staff of 6 for 64 acres.
Oh my God. Do you have a huge staff of volunteers?
We have wonderful volunteers that really work hard.
It's fun to take these things apart and see how they're built. Like this wagon here, the shoe. And thank God for Bernie and Virgil and Willie and these guys.
These are volunteers?
These are volunteers. That's how much this collection means to people in the state of Wisconsin.
So this land was farmland? What was
Farmland,
yeah. 24 years ago, did you say, oh, this is what I think I should do?
I was going to do it for 1, 2, or 3 years, but I loved it so much. It's a volunteer job.
Yeah.
And I love to do it.
Yeah.
I really, and my wife does the same thing. And this is the wire. Every day, she starts up on the top, and she goes across there by her neck at 1:45. I love when the buses come to Baraboo.
Okay.
From all over the country, and we tell them about the Circus World Museum, because this is the home of the Ringling Brothers Circus.
Yeah. We're talking with Howard Garvis, and this is a great story. This is a man who was a retired IBM corporate computer manager. How are you?
John, I'm welcome.
So you're volunteering, so I'm presuming it's with corporate computer management that you're doing some volunteering at.
Wrong.
Wrong, which is why we're talking to you. I love the fact that you sat down and said, thanks for having the circus introduce me.
Yeah, yeah.
And the point was that man in that clip had never done anything with the circus before. Let's talk about what you do to volunteer.
My role is basically to assist people of low income, elderly, get their income taxes filed. Because if you probably are aware, lots of people hate taxes and they don't like to read about taxes.
Right.
Just get them done.
I don't know many people who do, just so you know, Howard.
Yeah.
And you've always enjoyed taxes?
I did my own personal taxes for my whole life.
Yeah.
And I had to find something to do when I retired. So I was always good with numbers. When you work with computers, you basically are good with numbers.
Yeah.
So I seen this little ad in the paper. AARP was looking for somebody to assist all across the state of Wisconsin, but particularly there was an opening in Sparta. So I started in the little hole of the library, and we did paper, pencil, taxes for 6 years. Now, having worked with computers for a whole life, that was a little frustrating. Come '98, the AARP Foundation, who was sponsoring us, along with the IRS, came up with some money, and they said there was this funny little thing called a laptop that we could use, and I raised my hand, and I got the first one in the state.
You did.
So we then took that concept, educated all the other 1,000 volunteers in Wisconsin how to use laptops to do taxes. And from there on, I got sucked into the state management. And pretty soon I'm the administration. And so I have been involved with the income tax assistance for 27, going on 28 years now.
Good job. Kid, did you have any idea how many returns you have helped file?
Across the state of Wisconsin, when I was the state coordinator, we did something like 34,000 returns in a year.
It's remarkable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's 900 other wonderful people like me out there in the state of Wisconsin alone doing this.
Volunteering.
Volunteering.
And can you talk about what this does to you to volunteer?
I have met some of the most wonderful, intelligent people from all backgrounds. And the reward is, I can't put a number on it.
Right. Was this year a difficult year for you when it came to the new tax law?
The frustrating part was that the government, I think the government said taxes were going to be simplified this last time around. I don't think that happened.
Oh, okay.
We're still looking for that.
Yeah.
But
Thanks for your time, and thank you so much for your service of volunteering. I'm sure you change people's lives, and
yeah,
thanks for taking care of it.
thank you, John.
Thanks. Yeah.
Yep.
Howard took on something that he had never done before to volunteer. There are people who then volunteer from their heart, and they want to make a change. Before we talk to our next guest, take a look at this.
That is Todd.
And if it weren't for him, this wouldn't even be here.
That's right. I made my first quilt in April of 2006 when my son-in-law, Todd Richter, asked me to make him a camouflage quilt when he went to Iraq the first time.
And how did it turn into all of this?
Well, the guys that he's with said, well, where can I get one? And he said, well, my mother-in-law made it. She'll make you one.
Whoa.
So here we are, 22,000 quilts later.
22,000 quilts you've handed out.
Yes, free of charge. They go to our active military that are serving our country overseas. Everything is volunteer and everything is donated.
And you make these quilts for each branch of the service, don't you?
Yes, I buy all official military seconds and thirds.
So this is
That's multicam with Army on the
with
other
Army?
side, the ACU.
What are these?
These are our patriotic lap quilts, which is a small quilt for our veterans who are in local nursing homes.
And are they all very skilled quilters?
Did
you hear the laugh? I heard a laugh.
They are learning to be skilled quilters.
I'm talking with Jim Liska, who is a retired Sparta school administrator. And this is quite a story that he has. How are you, sir?
Great.
Good to see you.
Great.
Sir, you're a retired Sparta school administrator.
Correct.
How long did you do that?
36 years.
36
altogether.
years. Yeah.
Yeah. I did, I was teaching for 6 and then 30 as a principal at one of the schools here in Sparta.
You know you're going to go to heaven immediately. You realize that? You educators go to heaven like that.
Yes.
Yeah, just so you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have a side door.
You do have a side door. It's so good. Let's talk about what you've been doing for the last 12 years.
First of all, I took a camera safari to Africa. And while I was over there, I started to think about maybe there's a spot here for me to do some volunteer work. And that's kind of what happened. And I went over and I got involved with a school over there, Corngony Secondary School. It was just in its infancy, just getting started. And I thought, oh, I'll do this for maybe 5 years if I like it. Well, that turned into 10 years, and then this last year was 12 years. So this project would not exist if it wasn't for people, wonderful people here in Sparta who donate funds to help create projects for the school. What I do is I meet with the school board, the administrators, the regional educational director, and we decide the best ways to use the funds that I collected here in Sparta. I'll just give you a little example. For 2 years, we worked on developing a new computer lab. We ended up completing the project this year, and we have the lab with 21 computers. We have a teacher, and we have probably the best computer lab in all of the city of Moshi. Moshi is 250,000 people. That was one of the projects. We bought a new copy machine. The other thing that I do is meet with teachers and students to talk about cultural differences. This, I think, is probably as important as the purchase of materials, because we have what I would call warped ideas about Africa and the continent, and they have some unbelievable ideas about us also. There's just enough television over there that they draw these conclusions that sometimes are very interesting and even humorous. You know, probably one of the best ones is trying to convince them that our justice system is not Judge Judy.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Can you look at these 12 years, and can you look at you know, that year of going on a safari, and look at what you've done in these 12 years, and can you talk about the change in that community?
We're making those changes slowly, and I think as a volunteer, there's one thing you have to do. You have to make sure that you are not trying to force your ideas on them. You know, my dad would always say, you know, Jim, you were put on this earth to make it better. And you do that through volunteer work. Wow. And I've continued to look at it as a kind of a second job, which is lots of fun.
Yeah, this volunteer work is important.
Yeah.
So thanks for taking the time.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Yeah. So Jim found something to do, volunteer from his heart. Here is a story of doing something that excites you, that you've always wanted to do, and we'll talk to some women who are doing just that. But let's first take a look at this.
South Milwaukee isn't even 5 square miles, and yet we have 2.5 miles of beach. It's just great.
Can you talk about Friends of the Park? What do you guys do?
Friends of the Park, okay. We have a beach cleanup in the spring, and we're also picking the invasive plants out, garlic, mustard, buckthorn.
We've been doing a lot of things with habitat reconstruction and renovation and restoration.
Yeah.
We like to remove weeds, and we like to plant native plants, all because this is a really spectacular habitat, both for birds and for insects, and for fish, and for humans.
Right, it sure is.
Yeah.
I'm talking with Amy Bernath and Nancy Frazee. Amy is retired from the U.S. government, and Nancy is a retired bookkeeper. You are the coordinator of Chris Kindle Mart here in Sparta?
Yeah, I guess. I think you'd call it that.
Is that?
The Chris Kindle Mart's right, but I don't know about the coordinator part.
But that's what they told me.
Oh, okay.
Is that right? And Nancy's a worker bee is what I heard.
No, Nancy's our artistic designer.
Is that right?
That's right.
Let's talk about this effort, and let's talk about how this all happened. How long ago did this start in the community?
We're coming up on our 5th year.
5th year.
Yeah, this will be our 5th season of the Chris Kindle Mart. We're really excited. We've grown by leaps and bounds, and we started as kind of squatters in a vacant lot with some some lovely chalets that Reinhardt and the Shovelman and other volunteers helped to put together for us. Nancy had a lot to do with the design of those booths.
It actually just started out as a conversation. Sparta does some holiday lights, huge effort, a lot of volunteers to do that. And one evening we were just discussing maybe we should do more to help the downtown area, add to that. And that evening, of course, Reinhard Mueller got in on the conversation, and
the next thing you know,
we're doing a German market. And whenever Reinhard says, let me help you do this, you know you're in good hands, and it just evolved.
Yeah.
And we have grown every year. There's always something to add each year.
Yeah.
And it's our goal is to help our downtown and make it.
And bring holiday joy to the city.
Bring holiday joy to the city.
Yeah.
And you're volunteering to do this, is what you're doing. Can you talk about logistically what it takes to put this on? How long is it? How long is the planning for it?
Well, it proceeds through the course of the year, but we really start ramping up seriously towards the end of August, first part of September.
Merry Christmas.
Yes. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so we get together and we have our to-do list and make sure we have everything checked off, and we get all the coordination done with vendors and local civic organizations and service groups and nonprofits and the churches and the Boy Scouts and the Girl Scouts and the Friends of the Library and all the community organizations that pitch in to help make it just a wonderful event, a community event. That's the most important thing.
And do your vendors return year after year?
Some, and love it so much that they'll tell you, I don't care if I make any money, I just want to be part of this.
Wow.
Which is really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How long does it run?
3 weekends, Fridays and Saturdays, and we kick off the day after Thanksgiving.
We have a horse-drawn wagon, 2 actually, that go down to the holiday lights so people can enjoy that and come back through the town, and that's fun. What really makes it work is the weather. We need we need nice winter weather, not rain or.
Right.
And that helps.
Sure.
And we've been very lucky.
We've been and we've also been fortunate in that we've had so much support from so many organizations. And I think when you actually go and stand in the middle of Chris Kindle Mart on one of those fresh evenings when it's just starting to snow, and you've got the sights of the lights, you've got the sounds of the holiday music, you've got the smell of the roasting nuts, and you've got the sounds of the horses clip-clopping, and it's just magic.
It's what it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Volunteering is interesting. You know, there's people that will say, oh gosh, if I've told people, you know, you would be wonderful at Chris Kindle Mart. You know, maybe you'd like to, you know, help us with this. Oh, I'm really quite busy. I really don't have the time. And you know, that's really not true. It's your priorities, and it's a good cause for our city, our community, and it gives back. So,
who doesn't like to throw a good party? You know, and so basically, this is a 3-week-long holiday event, and we love it.
You love doing it.
Yeah.
Oh, of course. It's joyful. We have a great time.
Yeah. And how lucky for Sparta that this happens.
We hope.
Yeah.
We think.
So those are our stories of volunteering. Volunteering helps our community. It helps our state. it helps our heart, it helps our soul. This is Next Avenue Community Conversations. I'm John McGivern, and thank you so much for joining our conversation.
You know, how many people don't volunteer until they're of retirement age? Because they have kids, they have busy lifestyles. So we're always very, very grateful when some folks do step up, and that's good.
Who do we think are the ones that volunteer the most? What age group? And I always say people my age, people over 50, people retired people, and it's not. The people who volunteer the most are those in their 30s who have kids in school, and they're the ones that are out there volunteering for every baseball game, everything that has to do with school is what they're volunteering for. And that's the force that is really volunteering. So you think that they would then take the initiative after their kids are now in high school, or you know, that they're the ones that are coming up next in their 40s are the ones who should be taking our place.
My personal opinion is that too many people think when they get to retirement age, that's the end of it. And now they're going to wait until death comes. And they forget that life is a journey.
Yeah.
There's things to do along the way, and take some opportunities and try something different.
Right.
And you may be amazed how many people you'll meet along the way.
Yeah. Well said. It sure is.
Yeah.
The Milwaukee PBS Next Avenue Community Conversation Series is made possible through generous funding provided by the Helen Daniels Bader Fund, a Bader philanthropy.